blanket and put pep talk.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody else wants to come, I can cover the office.
No, I just came.
Thank you, Jane. Does anybody else want to come over? Because I can cover the office.
I don't have to, if she wanted to come.
If
I'll
Cindy
add-
and Amy, if they want to come, I will come back.
Cindy's not coming.
Okay. And I know Tammy's going to watch it.
I'm Patty. You spoke to me.
Hi, Patty. Yvonne, nice to meet you. Yeah. Thanks for confirming. Yeah, I went over my email and it just had the address. So knowing my friend works here, she's a adjunct professor. So I was like, I know there's more than just 12, 15. Because that campus is huge, right? So and you're like, no, they probably told you. It's like, no, they did not. They just gave me the whole address, and that's why it's like I need to know where to go because I know I've come here for a couple plays and to visit her a couple times. So I just know it's a big campus. Like it's just not, you don't just walk in.
Yeah, that's fine. This is Judy Conley. She's our
Hi,
director
how are
of
you?
HR.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Kathy Mikulich, she's out in front.
Yes, I met you when I came in.
Okay.
Yeah, my friend teaches in the science department.
Okay. Yeah. Glad you're here.
Friends. Do I have to be on camera?
It will be if you sit.
Over here. Hi.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. Never been all the way up here. I was asking somebody else where it's at. I said, just keep going up the stairs. Really?
That's the only reason why I came.
Oh, okay. Then I know.
Because you just said you do.
Know that.
Ask her, but I said.
My cat likes to walk on me and then stand on my chest and headbutt me until I wake up and give him what I call head cuddles, and then he runs away. It's like,
You wouldn't trade him for the world.
no. And then he'll come back up and he sleeps on a pillow. So we have a pillow that fell in between our mattress and headboard like this. So he sleeps there and he'll put his, he doesn't like to be held, but I normally have my hand up there, so he sleeps with his head on my hand. That's his love. Yes. Yes. I'll wait a couple minutes, I think. Yes, Patty? Should we wait give it a couple minutes?
Okay.
Are more people coming?
I didn't check the sign up. Let me go see.
Yeah.
How many people signed up? Then I'll come back.
I still like to be a stickler on time if I know people are.
Yeah, let me go check real quick, because I don't know.
give them a minute. Normally I'm like, it's 12 o'clock, that's it, we go. Do you have pets?
A dog.
Doggy.
He's kind of a jerk. I miss having a cat, but we really can't have any other pets with him. Yeah, he's a goofball at home, but anybody else, nobody really knows how cute he is, you know? 'Cause he's a jerk. He's a jerk.
What kind of dog?
He's a pit bull.
Huh?
He lives up to that, that stigma that surrounds them. He does.
All the pitties I know are like big hands
They're
and
goofballs.
lovey, but
And
yeah,
that's how
they
he
are,
is
they're
with
goofballs.
us, with
Yeah.
just us. But the second he sees another dog, it's like he goes into attack mode.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, we've trained him, anyway, it's a lot better than he used to be, but.
Our next door neighbor, they have a, I call her a chug. It's a chow pug. So I'm like, you're a chug. And she, like I had the cat out one day, and because we were going somewhere, and she was about to jump the fence, and he would have been dead in a second. She just loves little squirrels, rabbits, whatever, right? She's just a squirrel, so like, well, we're not bringing lava to your house for a visit. What you do, pets, kids?
No. Husband, whatever, I got them all.
Yeah.
I have a dog, turtles, fish, 2 kids and a husband.
Okay.
Yeah, so my
Okay.
pets, I guess.
Am I being? We can start, Ed, because people are streaming too, so.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining today. My name is Yvonne Agnello Adams. I'll be your session leader today. I'm a business trainer locally, so I come from Lombard, so this was not that bad of a commute for me. And I'm here today on behalf of LifeWorks, which is your EAP. It stands for Employee Assistance Program. I will talk a little bit more about the EAP at the end of the session. But today we're here to talk about managing holiday stress, because it's a specific type of stress that goes along with the holidays just because of what we have going on. So we will, our goals are to get you to acknowledge your own feelings about the holidays, figure out the sources of holiday stress, learn how to manage the different holiday demands that we have, because there are different things that play a role in our lives during the holidays. Talk about the role of traditions, and then how to create some new and meaningful traditions. And then we'll talk about some ideas for organizing tasks, managing time, dealing with expenses, and sharing some holiday tips. So the first thing I'd like to do is I would like you to think about the different things that come into play at the holidays. So we'll do a little quiz for those of you who are here. How many of you have children? Raise your hands. Okay, how about grandchildren? Any single parents in the room? Anybody part of an interfaith family? How about a blended family? So you have stepkids or foster children. Has anyone lost a loved one since the last holiday season? Yeah. Do you have an elder family member that maybe you're a little more concerned about, especially during the holidays? How about family members who won't be together to celebrate, either due to scheduling reasons or geographical reasons, or they're deployed in the military? Okay. How many of you are hosting the gatherings or the parties this year? Okay. How many of you aren't hosting, but you have to bring stuff and you have to cook extra things, special things, right? How many just generally feel more stressed at this time of year and you don't know why, right? So here's the thing. All of us have feelings about the holiday season, and we probably have some special feelings, but also some things that affect us, right? So for most people, the holidays can be exciting. It can be very complex and emotionally powerful because you have a variety of different things that come into play when it comes to what we're dealing with. So it can be a time of celebration and love and excitement and togetherness and giving and cheer, but then it can also be filled with strain and filled with sadness and maybe isolation, and maybe you can have feelings of being overwhelmed or disappointed, and all of those feelings are normal and real. And some of us may have some sadness as things have changed over the years, right? So I remember when I was little, we would have these great Christmas Eve celebrations with my mom and my sister-in-law would host, and all of my nieces and nephews were there. I have way older half-brothers, so my nieces and nephews were more my age, so it was like all of us together. And as time has changed, my sister-in-law lost a battle with cancer 12 years ago. My mother passed away 3 years ago. And Christmas is different now. I don't see those people. Like, the kids are married and they go to their families and they travel. And so it's evolved over time. But I try to embrace the new things with my husband, but acknowledging that these were happy memories, right? So that's a torn thing, right? Especially if you have some of the sadness or loss or things that have changed, you might find yourself having those emotions, having those feelings, whether it's a song that reminds you of something, or you're baking cookies and you remember doing that with your grandma or whatnot. So let's talk about some of the positive and stressful aspects of the holiday season. So what aspects of the season do we especially enjoy and look forward to? So what are some of the things that you enjoy and that you look forward to when it comes to the holidays? Being off work, so having some little time, so having some time to rejuvenate and regenerate, right? What else?
Being around family that does not live local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So seeing your family that you don't get to see on an ongoing basis because they're not local. So you travel together to celebrate the holidays. Good. What else? What other things are positive?
The excitement of the kids' experience.
The kids experiencing, right?
Which
And-
goes both ways, by the way.
Yeah.
Positive and stressful.
Yes, it can be, but yeah. So right now we'll focus on positive. So yeah, seeing the joy when they wake up and see a gift from Santa, right? And also kind of seeing how kids deal with as they evolve, right? So I've had some friends post recently that their kids were getting to that age where they were becoming non-believers, right? And they said, so what do I do? And I said, I saw a story a while ago that said, now you get to be Santa. So you get to do good things for other people because it's about spreading the joy of that joy and that feeling and the goodness and the goodwill. And she's like, I love that. And I was like, yeah, that's good. What else? What else brings us, what else do we enjoy? Baking, right? So sometimes it's like, we get to bake the holiday cookies or whatever we make, whatever our traditions are, right? So, and that might be cooking too, right? So on my dad's side of the family, we're Sicilian, so they always did the Feast of the Seven Fishes, and there are specific holiday cookies that they did. I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood in Chicago, so I was raised, because of my environment, where with tamales for Christmas. So it's something that even though I'm not Hispanic, I started making tamales for Christmas. So that I'm doing that Saturday. So I always look forward to that because even though it's a labor-intensive thing, it's like then we have fresh tamales for a while, right? So baking and cooking, maybe some of those might be traditional things like Do you bake anything special, like it's a grandma's recipe or
A
something?
couple things are from my past, but I like to try new recipes.
Yeah, so you might mix it up, good. Yeah, I baked an eggnog cheesecake for Thanksgiving. That was phenomenal. I found it on Facebook, right? New recipe. I was like, that's gonna go into the tradition now, right? What else? What else do we like? What else do we enjoy and look forward to for the holidays? Anything else?
I'm going to say decorating, but that can also be stressful.
Can be stressful, right? Yeah, so the decorating.
Decorating, lights, and just festive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
festivities, yeah, driving around too and looking at other people's lights and decorations, right? So, we'll flip it. What makes you feel stressed at holiday time? So decorate and the process of that, right? Yeah. What else? Cleaning, so getting the house ready to host, right, or together. What else?
Lack of funds.
Lack of funds, yeah. So it's it can be a financial stress, right, that we put on ourselves. What else?
The regular things, well, the laundry, the dishes, the regular planned meals.
There's
Right.
still all of that.
All the other stuff that.
Right, so you have all the other stuff that we have in life, right? Until the kids are out of school, you still have homework and probably activities, then you have laundry and shopping and cleaning and bill paying and all those things, plus baking and decorating and cooking and arranging travel and getting recipes ready and making sure you have ingredients for those special recipes and all that, right? Yeah. Anything else? Anything else that, any activities that you dread?
Activities that I go back to family.
Yeah.
Either experiencing family loss or like family drama
Yeah,
that you don't want to encounter, but it's going to come up anyway to bring everybody together.
right. So there can be family dynamics that could cause stress, or if you've had a loss, then that can weigh on your heart, right? That can weigh on your heart. So there's going to be conflicting feelings about the holidays, and we're going to have them, and it's completely natural. But it's important for us to try to remind ourselves of more positive aspects of things and try to focus on them, because if we only focus on the negative, then we're actually going to add fuel to that negativity fire. So what I'd like you to do is jot down ideas on your handout so you can refer to it later, and think about what are some things as we go through, what are some things that you can put into practice, what are some things that you can do to kind of relieve your own pressure, and have a positive holiday season, right? So today we're primarily going to talk about the sources of holiday stress and how to manage them so we can enjoy our holidays. So a poll of lifeworks.com users shows that money caused people the most stress during the holidays, total 39%, followed by feeling overscheduled / tired at 25%, family dynamics at 15%, and personal expectations at 13%. Only 8% of lifeworks.com users indicated that they do not get stressed during the holiday season. So you're not alone. That's the point. You're not alone. But we need to be proactive on what we can do. So what are some sources of that holiday stress? Well, unrealistic expectations. So we all have images as to what we want the holidays to look like, right? I was just watching an episode of The Goldbergs. And so it's a kind of a flashback show about the 80s, about family in Pennsylvania. And the mother, just wanted everybody to like sit down and have a friendly, enjoyable holiday dinner, right? And but it wasn't happening. People were nitpicking and fighting. And she's like, all I want is for everyone to come together and sit around the table and like thank me for making this turkey and be done. So we might have that picture perfect thing where like, well, everyone's going to get together and I will have this Martha Stewart this table and all the decorations will be wonderful, and we see images of it everywhere, right? So no matter if you're watching TV, if on commercials, right, on Pinterest. Pinterest is the worst place to go for things, right? You see these gifts and they're wrapped perfectly, right? And you see these beautiful things, or you see these commercials where they're in these big beautiful homes and they're like, look, we bought 2 new cars, and they're sitting in the driveway. And my cousin and I were just talking today, and she's like, who does it? I said, if my husband came home with a car and in the driveway, I'd be like, what the heck are you doing without talking to me about making that financial decision first? Like, what, right? So we see all these things, and we're given messages about the holidays should be wonderful and beautiful. So when we have some sadness or some family dynamics or some stress, we might not acknowledge that should be, right? So, but it's okay. It's okay to have that. Holidays place too many demands on an already full schedule. So it's a time of too many overs, right? Overcrowded, overworked, overcommitted, overtired, overweight. I know my niece, my nephew's wife, I had mentioned, I said, hey, we're having a wine tasting party, and it was on December 7th, and she said, yeah, she said from the middle of November till the end of December, to the beginning of January. She said every day, every weekend has been booked since like July. Done. She goes, I have no time for anything during the holidays because they do like a Friendsgiving, and she has an adopted family plus her birth family plus like she goes to other people. She goes, it's great work stuff. She has and she has her main job plus she's a realtor on the side, so she's got that. She said there's just too much. She said I am jammed. She said I don't come up for air until after the first year, right? And I know she's not the only one. There's holiday plays. So those of you who have kids, you probably have holiday plays and holiday activities with them, and your own, and then you have to add in like shopping and other holiday parties, whether that's work or friends or whatever. So it's a lot, and it can really be very stressful for us, both physically, emotionally, as well as financially, because some of those things require some financial investments. We have finances and overspending. It's not uncommon for people to exceed their budgets, only to then be depressed in February when all the bills come through. So we might be affected by the economy, but we might have it in our head that we have to like keep up this this activity or this level of giving, right? So I was just talking to one of my cousins, and she hasn't worked in a while, and she said, you know, I'm concerned about Christmas. And I said, look, bake cookies and give things away. You don't have to go and buy people all brand new shiny things. I said, your grandkids are 3 and 4. They don't really know. They would be happy with whatever toys you're able to give them, and your family should understand if you can't do something. I know I was laid off from my job back in 2008 during the recession, and it was right after my husband and I got married. We got married in September of 2007. So that whole year was a rough year for us. So I made like rosemary and garlic infused olive oil for people, because I was like, we can't afford to buy a lot of stuff, but I can make some stuff, right? So I know I'm not the only one. I know my cousin's not the only one. So gift giving tends to be overemphasized, and it's okay to realize that gifts aren't your symbol of love for people. Holidays can remind us that our families are around or that there's changed situations. So celebrating holidays without your family members can be lonely, or making plans after maybe a divorce or split or after someone passes can really weigh on you, because that has its own challenges. I know, like I said, my mom passed away in November 2016. That first holiday season was super rough, but even now, every holiday season, even though it's gotten a little less raw, it still weighs on me, and I miss her, right? And there's songs that remind me of her on the radio, and I cry, and it's hard. It's hard as things change. We also have the markers of the passage of time. So holidays can heighten loss and loneliness and personal gains and losses. So some of you might have kids that are gone now, or you might have family members who have moved away. My sister-in-law's sister has 3 daughters. 2 of them are gone, and they're like in the western part of the country. So they're not coming home for Christmas because they have husbands and they're celebrating with their families there. And that can be hard because, again, it's something new, right? We might have some unfinished emotional business with families. So, we have these returning home for the holidays. For instance, yesterday we were watching the movie Fred Claus. Did anyone ever see Fred Claus? It's with Paul Giamatti and Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn plays Fred Claus, Santa Claus's brother, right? And there's some unfinished emotional business in that movie. It's the same thing with all of us. We may have things that are lingering, right? So I know after my mom passed away, I had some challenges with my half-brothers. And so that kind of lingers over holiday get-togethers as a potential source of conflict. Or you might have celebration anxiety because maybe family members don't get along and they're forced to be together because we're told, like, this is what you have to do. It's family, and this is what we do. It's our tradition. We all get together. It can also come along with that feeling of, well, I need to kind of keep up with everybody, and I have to make sure that my house is decorated just so, and that I serve these things for dinner because that's what people expect. And we put all these expectations on ourselves, so it causes a lot of extra anxiety. Some other sources of holiday stress, grief and loss. So obviously, if you've lost a loved one, that can really come up during the holidays because you tend to tap into those great memories that you had with those people. So some things that you can do, look through pictures. Maybe you send to a charity in their name. Maybe you honor their memory by sharing memories of them. Maybe you have a moment of silence or a special prayer or words or acknowledge something that they did during the holidays, to kind of still include them. I know right after my mom passed away, my sister-in-law left the seat next to me empty because that's where mom sat, and it was like in honor of her, and we all toasted to her right afterwards. So it was really touching to do, and now I continue the traditions that she used to do. So on Friday, my cousin's actually going with me, and my mom would always go to like a particular candy store to get English toffee and a particular bakery to get certain things. And so Friday is our day to go do those. So I'm like, it's the day, it's mom's errands day. And we've made it now a new tradition where we all get together, because the first year I did them by myself. And how I actually drove without like crying in the corner of the car. It was really difficult, but now we've turned it into like a fun thing where we all get together and do these things. So we found a nice way to honor her and honor her memory and honor what she did. So look at those things. What did they do anything special? Can you turn that into, like, did they bake the cookies? So you go, okay, we're gonna do all the same cookies and we're gonna get everybody together and do that as a way of kind of bringing them in. You might have a family member in the armed services, so they may be away from home for a long time or a short time. They may be deployed somewhere where you're worried about them. So try to get some care packages to them, maybe create a newsletter, get everybody to contribute, send pictures, maybe scan all your holiday cards that you get and send them to them so that they feel like they're part of the celebration as well. You might have concern about an older family member. So sometimes older relatives and friends can feel left out, especially if they are not able to travel and move like they used to. And they have, like, I remember, I was just talking with my mother-in-law and she said, yeah, so all of my friends are dying and I don't have that many friends left, right? So she's thinking of everything for her. So we try to do things to keep her engaged and do special things for her so she still feels involved. Ask your older relatives to share some stories and share stories with the family. You might even record them so you have them for the future. Job loss. So some people might be experiencing some financial strain and it makes them dread, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to approach the holidays? So set a realistic budget before you go shopping. So here's what I like to do. What are some ideas on low cost or free ways to enjoy the holidays with your family, or some financial planning tips? So I used one already where I said during a couple times when we've had some financial difficulties, we made our gifts. So whether it was, one year I did peppermint bark, another year I did olive oil with rosemary and garlic. You know, so what are some things, what are some other tips that you have to enjoy the holidays with your family? So low cost or free things that you can do. What can you do? Any thoughts? Yeah.
I look on Facebook events a lot, and there's so many free events that I just fill up our calendar with free things to do.
Yeah. So yeah, Facebook events, you can look at what's free. A friend of mine just told me that Moose Heart has some lights celebration, and it's $10 for a whole car to go through, so you don't have to pay per person. So you know, if you get a car of 6 people together, that's not too bad, right? A friend of mine did this last year when she was struggling financially. That she wanted to do something special with the kids. So she said that she was having a lights contest. So she wanted them to go around and judge the lights in the like the decorated houses in the area, and then they voted on who they liked the best. And then she went to the dollar store and bought like a big candy cane and like a couple things. Like, so she spent like $5 on some goodies and put them in a little stocking or gift bag. And then when they picked their house, she gave them a little prize and said, "Our kids, like, we judged all the houses and we really liked your house the most." So it got them out for a couple nights because they broke it up, and then the prize wasn't that expensive, right? The dollar store's a great place for all the like fun holiday stuff. Good. What else? What else can you do? Low cost or free things? Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, giving back. Maybe your family goes to feed my starving children. It doesn't cost anything to go there, and you're doing it as a family, and you're doing something good for other people.
Right. So volunteering, whether it's feed my starving children, whether it's at a local soup kitchen, whether, you know, no matter what, there's things that you can do to give back, to get that feeling without spending the money. Good. Any other thoughts?
Christmas caroling.
Christmas caroling. Yeah, that's a great one. that's a great one. My nephew and I used to do that when we were little. We would go, we'd pick a night, we had, at that time, the black cassette player with the handle, right? And I made a whole cassette of all the Christmas music, so we had background music, and we made songbooks, and we'd go and we'd travel around and do Christmas caroling. Great way, right? Great way to involve people. So, and none of that costs a lot of money, so that's good. You may have an interfaith marriage. So if you have an interfaith family, then talk about the traditions that are important to both sides, and try to integrate them into the family and learn how you can you acknowledge both of them. A friend of mine from graduate school, her mom was Jewish, and she got remarried to her stepdad, and her stepdad was Catholic. So she's like, so we had a Christmas tree and a menorah, and we celebrated both traditions. And she said, and we talked about both traditions and their place in the world and in the home. And then the final thing is a single parent. So, so if you're a single parent, just know that you can do different things at different times and create different types of celebrations over a period of time. I know I just had a family member who is splitting custody of her daughter with her daughter's dad, and he had her for Thanksgiving. And I said, well, that's okay, do Thanksgiving on Saturday. Like, then it's actually less pressure because people don't have like someplace else to go and whatnot. And so she was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And it was such a great celebration without the like, well, we have to go here, and then we have to go to this house, and then we have to go to this. Like, I know my husband and I have had to jump from Thanksgiving dinner to Thanksgiving dinner. It's like a relay race because of the different places that we had to go. So doing it on a different day would have been so much less pressure. So plan ahead with people, try to clarify with whoever is involved in your kids' lives, and talk about extended family visits and what's going on. So now let's focus on how to alleviate some of the stresses. So first of all, we want to focus on the true meaning of the holidays. So it's become very commercialized and materialistic, and so I really love kind of reflecting on gratitude and involving everybody in something meaningful, whether that's reading holiday stories, making decorations. You know, I remember we used to sit, and my mom would get red and green construction paper, and we'd use pinking shears, and I'd make the like chains to go on the Christmas tree, or popcorn garland. Giving back and volunteering, as you said, like whether that's feed my starving children or another soup kitchen. So it's really great, but reflect on what you're grateful for. Make sure that you emphasize the essence of the holiday season. What is it really about? Is it about how many gifts you get? Is it how much money people spend? Or is it about remembering love and peace and connecting? We've talked about planning meaningful and affordable ways, helping the less fortunate, and then try to engage in some manageable rituals. So you might also get people together to make homemade gifts, to make homemade cards. Maybe you put together a little care package for someone in the armed forces overseas. Find out what they could use. There's a ton of things that you can make, whether that's for gifts or just to engage people. Okay. So the other thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we set realistic expectations. So look at where the source of your expectations come from. So, you know, when I was little, our families, there were a lot of kids. And so I remember, I'll use the example of birthdays, right? So every birthday, it was like me, and then I had 5 nieces and nephews, and I had a ton of cousins. And we all went, and we were all like around the same, within like the same like 6-year age span. So we were always at everybody else's parties, Christmas, birthdays, whatever. And my cousin, who's my age, she had one daughter, and then her brother and her one brother had 2 kids, and her other brother had 3. And then there weren't a lot of cousins, like, because people weren't having 4, 5, 6 children like they used to. And she said, I remember like all of our holidays and birthdays and everything were all of these kids, and we'd all get together. And she said, and we just don't do that anymore. Well, that's because the world has changed. People are having less kids. Maybe both parents work. Like, it's just harder to juggle things. It might be through TV, right? So, and media and ads and movies. So, you know, I brought up the commercials where how many commercials have you seen so far of a car with a big red bow on it, right? And then we feel like, wait, is there something wrong with me, right? So look at the expectations, and also be realistic. So like my mom was basically a housewife. Even as a single mom, she cleaned houses, but did that kind of part-time because she was able to manage her schedule. So she had more time to prep the home and decorate and cook and whatever. If you're working a full-time job, plus managing everything else, and your spouse is managing things, you may not have all that time to do all that extra stuff that your mom or your grandma did, or that your dad or your father or your grandfather did. So don't look at where those expectations are coming from, and be realistic with things. Yeah.
Very similar situation, like, as you, but my grandparents' generation has all passed. And I'm thinking about the source of our expectations. All December was all formal parties and crystal and wine glasses and all that kind of stuff. And I remember being little, my mom had me dressed to the nines, like every weekend, right, for every holiday party.
Velvet,
whatever, the jacket, the shoes, and I had a little girl, and I'm like, put on whatever. But about 5 years ago, we kind of alternate Christmas between my mom and my house, and about 5 years ago, I said, no formal dress on Christmas, everybody come in pajamas. And it was like the best thing ever. And I said, paper plates, paper cups, whatever, I'm not doing china, I'm not, no, we're gonna have a good meal, we're gonna use tin pans, enjoy the tradition, food, but not the formal.
Right.
And everything was fine, right?
And it
Everything
was so
awesome.
much fun, everybody was relaxed and comfortable and lounging around, and we stayed so much later and put on movies, so
Yeah.
the source of your expectations, and it made me think that those traditions came from someplace, but we're adjusting them now for
Right.
us.
When you think about kind of the older way the holidays were, so how many of you either grew up in a home or your grandparents had a home where they had like the front room or the living room, and you didn't sit on any of that except at holiday time. Maybe you went in there, right, and got, Lord, heaven forbid,
Don't spill anything.
if you spilled on the
No
sofa.
candy in there.
Right, no candy, right? But it was, they had, and then they would bring out the fine china, and you would get a special outfit that you wore at Christmas time, right? And there were drinks in like little punch glasses, and it was because it was just more formal, right? And I love your idea, and this is a great thing when we talk about new traditions. In just a moment, think about what your family may like, right? So I'll talk about the tradition my husband and I have started when we get to that page, when we get to that slide. But yeah, that's the source. It's like, why are we doing this? Is it realistic for us now, right? Assess your situation and acknowledge whatever limitations you may have. So your holiday might be different because maybe you are newly divorced, or maybe you have a new baby, or somebody else has a new baby. My husband's nephew, they just had a baby within the last few months, and his wife does not believe in taking that baby outside in any cold weather, so we will not see that baby until about May, unless we go there, and they live in Wisconsin, right? So That's it. So this year Christmas, we're like, well, Addie and Hetty aren't gonna be there with the kids because she's gonna hunker down in the house. Okay. Maybe you have to be more prudent about spending, or somebody moved somewhere else. Or you don't have a lot of energy because your job's been demanding. It might be the first year you're not able to go do something that you always used to do, or that people aren't coming in. So just be realistic about things and adjust your plans so that they are realistic. It allows you to kind of effectively look at things that you can control rather than looking at things that you cannot control. You'll be able to enjoy the holidays more if you change your perspective and not talk about like these expectations, right? So I know the first year my nephew and his wife had a baby, my sister-in-law was really upset. She's like, they're not coming in for Christmas. I said, so you go there, right? Go there and have Christmas. She's like, but they won't be there. I said, so take mom, my mother-in-law, take mom there and spend the day there so you can still see them and just make a new tradition. That's it. And she's like, yeah, you're right, because I can't be so focused on this because this is her kid now, right? So we got a new mom and we have to acknowledge that. So just plan so that you're realistic, but also be honest about whatever feelings you're having. So you might say like, hey, this year I'm gonna need a little more help during the holidays because I've been handling a lot of extra work at work and I'm exhausted. Or, you know what, bear with me because I'm missing someone this year, and I'm just bear with me as I kind of work through this and work through my new normal. It helps you kind of create a better holiday and a holiday that you want. And then focus on ways to make the holidays special for yourself and others. So you want to look at what things you can do to reduce stress and enjoy the season. And if that means changing some things around and being more realistic, great. But set those more reasonable expectations. So let's talk about some best practices that we can do. So what I'd like us to do, do we have people streaming, and can they chat in the chat box? Is there a chat box? There's not a chat box. Okay. Then for those of you who are streaming, you can write down some of your own ideas, but we'll just kind of do a quick little popcorn brainstorming session to figure out some things that we could do. So if you're dealing with extended family and or children, what are some things that you can do to kind of relieve the stress of that? What do you think? I'll sit.
Extended,
Any extended family, so like, good.
so you talk about military, but I also want us to consider service families and medical families.
Yes.
Or that we can't always spend time together. So my husband's family is mom and dad are firefighters, all 3 kids are police officers.
Okay.
In June or July, we actually have to find a weekend where we all get together, which was happening just this past weekend where they're all off. And so I think if you're a service family,
Yeah.
you are very willing to adjust and build in that time to celebrate with each other. That's not the norm.
Yeah.
You know, so just be flexible with your time.
Yeah. So being flexible with time and acknowledging that some schedules, some jobs, you can't take off. Whether that's fire, police, hospital, hotel, restaurant, right? Right. So anything where we're serving people. Good. Anything else with dealing with family and children? What can we do?
The elf might need to break her leg pretty soon, so they can't fly around so much this
Yeah.
holiday season.
Yeah.
They're very busy.
Yeah, the elf.
I
So
saw
get,
that last year. Someone left him there, was able to leave him in the same spot for like a week because he was healing.
yeah, I've seen Elsa. I've seen they put some people put the elf in ice, and they put
Okay.
Elsa outside, and they're like, good. That'll take a couple days, right? So maybe suspend some of your traditions, especially if you got kids coming and they all had an elf, right? Then you don't need 8 elves in your house, moving them around, right? Try to plan some things. So go on the internet and try to plan like some games to entertain people. Get, now with Netflix and streaming services, it's very easy to find some free movies, free because you have to pay for Netflix, but you already are paying for cable, and there's free things that you can watch and do. I've seen fun little games with like identify the Christmas Carol from the drawing, right? I just saw a post where this would be a great thing to involve kids. You make little ornaments to hang on your trees outside that are natural, so the wildlife can eat them. So you do like orange slices and apple slices and things with peanut butter and bird seed, and then you can, and so that's a great way to kind of help your wildlife too, but give them an activity. How about some time management techniques for shopping and entertaining and decorating? What are some things that we can do to relieve our stress there?
Crock potting.
Crock pot, yeah. Anything that you can do to use your crock pot or Instapot, quick things, right? Yeah.
I made a couple of things for Thanksgiving, like cranberry sauce and a couple other side dishes that I made extra of and just froze so that way I don't have to.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe you pre-plan, and maybe you break things up. So for instance, I said I'm making tamales on Saturday this year. So tomorrow I'm cooking the pork. I already have the sauce made because I made it earlier and I froze it. And so then it's just going to be about putting them together. So I've split it up because last year we did it and we did it all in the same weekend where I made all the sauce and I made all the pork. And we were exhausted, right? We were exhausted. So break things up. Same thing with baking. If there's things you can do in advance. So you got to chop your nuts, go and chop your nuts a couple days before. We just baked 17 loaves of banana zucchini bread last weekend. And so we had pre-sliced all the zucchini and put it in the put in the fridge. So it was all done. So when we went to bake, we didn't have to do that, right? Shopping, try to plan a route and try to figure out times where it might not be as crowded. So Saturday at noon, probably not the time to go to the mall, right? Decorating, you can kind of make it some sort of activity where everybody comes over and does a little bit. How about managing gifts and finances? What are some things that we can do for that?
Set limits.
Pardon?
Set limits.
Set limits, right. Set limits and make them equal for everybody, right? I'm only spending this amount of money on everybody. Another thing is you could do, you could draw names. So instead of buying everybody a $20 gift, which can add up really quickly, you can say, hey, we're gonna draw names and each person will get like one $40 gift. So everybody gets something a little nicer, but you only get one thing, right? So drawing names can help. What else?
We're doing a Santa swap thing for the adults for the gifts because it's too much to get stuff for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're at that point. So all of us kind of, so we're doing like a swap game.
A swap game?
Yeah.
Okay, so you bring a gift and then there's a game, you pick them. Yeah.
It's cute. There's
Fun.
a story to it and everything. Yeah, it's real fun.
Fun, yeah. You could also make things. So there's a variety of things you can make, whether it's food-based. I made, and actually we're doing this again this year because my cousin's daughter wants to do, she loves bath bombs. And I said, you can make them out of, you buy baking soda and some essential oils and you can add color and you can make your own little shower tablets and bath bombs and whatnot. And I mean, we bought a big box of baking soda this big for like $2 at Meijer. Right? So lots of things that you can do. Ornaments, right? Gingerbread houses. You can do little. You can have a little gingerbread house contest. How about taking care of yourself? What are some things that we can do to take care of ourselves?
Exercise.
Yes, make sure you get out to exercise. What else? Put a limit on the extra stuff, right? So now is where the cookies and the baked goods and the candy and all the gifts come. So maybe you make a limit. I just talked to one of my clients. I had sent some cookies to them, and I said, did you have a cookie yet? She said, no, I've taken one and I'm going to eat it as dessert. I said, look at you with the self-control. That's awesome, because they're really good cookies. What else? What else can you do to take care of yourself?
Do something you enjoy, like read for pleasure, go for a walk,
Yes. Make sure you're taking time for yourself, whether that's reading, taking a bath, taking a hot walk, working on your own things that you love, your own hobbies, but make sure you have some time for yourself. Good. So let's talk about some ways that we can organize and manage our time. So some questions to ask ourselves. First of all, what needs to be done and when? So if you can break things down and do it in phases, you can definitely do that. That will help. Make lists, write things down in a calendar so that you can schedule some prep time. That way you'll have time for shopping and wrapping and food prep and decorating. Organize. So what routines and systems work? So you might buy in quantities or and stockpile things over the course of time. Maybe you shop online or via catalog so you don't have to go out and do it. Cook, bake, and freeze ahead of time. I love that you said I made some cranberry sauce and some stuff extra, so now I already have it done. And just kind of split it up, do a little bit. Delegate, who can help and share the load. So if you're having people come over, ask them to bring something to the meal so that it doesn't rely only on you. So that also helps with the finances as well. And then simplify it. What can you do to make things less complicated? So you might decide to make simple gifts, or you might decide, hey, we're not going to do anything formal. We're not going to have dishes that we have to do. Come in pajamas. We're going to use paper plates and plastic cups, and that way we can throw out the plates. We eliminate dishes, and we can all be casual and comfortable and have a great time. So that's a great example of like kind of simplifying things so that it was a little more realistic. You also want to have a balance of autonomy and connectedness. So you want to spend some time with others, but you also need some time for yourself, because we need to make sure that we are focusing on self-care. I saw a meme the other day on Facebook, and it showed your phone battery down to nothing. And it said you wouldn't let your phone get that way, but how many times do we let us get down to like that low part of the battery, right, where we're running out of energy? So know your comfort level for being with others. Set time limits for family gatherings. Take breaks. It's a good time for some quiet reflection, especially because we have all of those overs that we have to deal with. Reflect on the past year, plan for the coming year. Reflect on how you've addressed the challenges that you faced. Look at how much you've learned, how much you've grown, and look at how you can carry that into 2020. And then overall, carry a positive attitude. So see the holidays as a break, like it's a welcome break from the usual flow of the year. Enjoy the festivities, enjoy the pretty lights and the decorations and the getting together and the music. Look to your holiday symbols and traditions for inspiration. So, you know, the Hanukkah and Christmas lights are symbols of hope and life at the darkest time of the year. Mistletoe represents commitment. The tree stands for new beginnings and rebirth of the spirit with all kinds of possibilities. Music heightens your joyful celebrations with messages for hopeful, happy, better times to come. Maybe you look for the joy in holidays and activities and events and reflect on those things. And set aside your differences. Just make a conscientious effort to say, I'm not going to focus on the conflict or the bad dynamics. I'm gonna focus on the good things. When I teach about creating a positive attitude, I always encourage people that at some point in the morning, in your morning routine, think of 5 things that you're grateful for overall in your life. And then at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, at some point in your nighttime routine, think of 5 positive things that happened that day, because it really helps us flip our perspective. So some tips on how to take care of yourself. So anticipate the tendency to eat and drink too much. So a lot of people gain, most people gain about 7 pounds over the holidays. So plan ahead as to what and how much you're going to eat. Try to maintain your usual routine and healthy habits. So that means bedtime for children, chores around the house, meal planning. Plan some strategies for relieving stress, whatever that is for you. It might be going for a walk, exercise, your hobbies, reading, running, biking, taking a bath. Make sure that you have time planned for yourself, and then pace yourself and make sure you get sufficient rest. And then prioritize the holiday activities, because not everything has to be done, right? So sometimes I know people who are like, oh, but I want to go to the Morton Arboretum, and I want to go to the Brookfield Zoo Lights, and I want to go to Mooseheart, and I want to go do that. It's like there's only so much time. And the lights at the zoo are going to be there next year. Holiday Magic has been there for as long as I can remember. You know, the Morton Arboretum isn't going to go, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Like, if you don't get to it this year, it's okay. Be prepared for your family dynamics too. So be realistic about your family's history and your behavior. The holiday celebrations don't change the relationships or the people. And don't use the family, the fact that you're together to solve the conflict, right? Like, oh, well, now we're here, so we're gonna have that conversation. No, avoid confrontation and avoid the conflicts during holiday celebrations. A good way to do this is to anticipate. If you know you're going to be dealing with somebody where you have kind of a tense relationship, or where there's been some tense discussions before, come up with a number of things that you can talk about in advance. So for instance, let's say your family is, that you have people in your family who are on different sides of the fence politically. Well, when they come up and they go like, yeah, so what about that impeachment? Okay, folks, you gotta find a way, have some topics that you can pivot off to. So think of those things in advance, so you have a list of things like, hey, you know what? I forgot to tell you about Johnny's football tryouts or whatever. Like, make a list of things that are non-divisive, so you have some things that immediately that you can go to kind of guide that conversation. And maybe you can even use appropriate humor to lighten a mood. So try to joke if you can find something funny, a funny story that happened at work, or folks, the internet is filled with funny videos of animals, of people, of whatever. You can be like, look, I saw this video of this dog that keeps jumping into big piles of leaves. How funny. Like, find things to kind of, again, pivot and lighten the mood. When it comes to your finances, make sure you set a budget and stick to it. Talk about gift giving in advance to set realistic expectations. Maybe you actually offer a gift of time or help instead of an object. So if you know someone, like a friend of ours is a single mom, and my husband and I have already said we're gonna go and watch her baby. So her baby will turn 1 next year. Her baby, while she can go out and have like a night to herself. Organize a gift exchange, like a Santa swap, with whether that's with friends or with family. Consider some homemade gifts. So we've already talked a lot about different homemade gifts. So for next year, you can do this. Buy sale items throughout the year and save them for holiday giving. Or like my friend, she has 2 nephews and they love different types of sports teams. She goes, I buy them shirts at Goodwill. They don't know. They don't care. They're growing boys. They only wear it for a couple months before doesn't work. She's like, so I'm not spending $50 on a Nike branded t-shirt for them. I'm gonna buy that at Goodwill because they're gonna trash it anyway and it's not gonna fit in a couple months. You can plan some post-holiday activities to kind of deal with the depression that can come afterwards. So whatever you enjoy, whether it's different types of things that are winter focused or reflecting on the holidays, that can go a long way. So now about traditions, because I know this was something that people wanted to talk about. When you're going through your current traditions, look at if it's like, how does it fit with today? So like you said, we always have these formal gatherings, but is that realistic for what we're doing now, right? So is it endorsed? Is it carried out without resentment? Or is there now like, I hate this tradition because it costs me too much money, or it's too much work, or it reminds me of something else? Does it accomplish something worthwhile? Does it provide security and continuity? Does it consume too much time, energy, or money? Is it in conflict with other traditions as we've expanded our family? So we want to make sure that we ask ourselves, what's the holidays really about? What are they really about? What binds us together? And kind of evaluate those traditions, because it might not work anymore to have a big formal party. It might be better to have something casual because it's less stressful. When we're thinking about new traditions, you have to ask yourself, what can you do to change? And so engage your family with what you liked about your childhood celebrations. What were the things that brought you joy? What did you like? What did you dislike? Ask other family members for ideas and some things that you can do. Maybe you even research some ethnic customs that you can kind of bring in to engage a little bit more with your heritage. Make sure you share with other family members and get their buy-in so that they can so that they can enjoy it as well. And then make sure you plan the how-tos and engage with them. So look, depending on where you are in life, so my husband and I were not blessed with human children, so we do not have any Christmas Day, anything ever. And both of our families always celebrated Christmas Eve, and so Christmas Day was really about the kids, right? Well, we don't have kids, and my cats are not opening up anything under the tree. So I just give them their catnip and their treats, and they're happy. So we have started our own tradition where we go to a movie on Christmas Day, and normally it's a Star Wars movie. So we, this year I actually bought Star Wars themed holiday t-shirts. We already have our tickets, and we go, and then we just kind of hang out in our pajamas and loungy pants and watch Christmas movies and drink like hot cider and hot cocoa, and we have leftovers, and it's wonderful. So look at some things that you can do. What are the things that you enjoy that you can connect with? So my husband, I like Star Wars, but my husband's a fanatic. So when the Star Wars movies kept coming up, we're like, hey, we'll go on Christmas Day because we have nothing to do. And we always felt like, what do we do? It's Christmas Day. We don't have any kids. Like, guess we'll watch TV. So now it's like, it's our own little tradition. And then sometimes we'll even bop around and visit some other people. But look at what you can do and engage your family, and look at the things that you truly enjoy and make that holiday about that. So going forward, enjoy the holiday season. There are some LifeWorks resources for you. How to keep from overindulging during the holidays, managing holiday stress, blending family traditions during the holidays, and budgeting for the holidays. So all articles that are on your website. You should have a LifeWorks app. If you haven't downloaded the app, make sure you do so because it's a great resource, and your EAP is there to help you with counseling and financial consultations and legal consultations, as well as daily life resources like you need someone to plow the driveway, or a triple agent, child care, elder care. It can be there to help. So I hope this was helpful for you. Just remember, take time for yourself and try to be positive as we go through this crazy time of celebration. So thanks so much. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.